to learn or be learned. Thank you for joining me on this week's guest series. I'm your host, Shiva Danishekar, and let's talk. All right, so I'm here with Zack Hobby. How are you doing, Zack?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. So I think when we first got here, we're talking about the childhood memories that we had and how we first met. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, it was definitely, we were young. I think we were probably 6 or 10-ish when we first started meeting. Mm-hmm. That's when I first started hanging out with all the neighbors. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason was because my dad moved to Bentonville to get a job at Walmart. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of our friends were in the same position with their parents working at Walmart. Mm-hmm. But that's when we met, and we'd just play sports outside a lot.
Yeah,
we'd make short films. Mm-hmm. That kind of happened later on, but we spent a lot of times just making these silly videos where we'd stuff pillows in our shirts and just pretend to be nerds.
I remember that. I remember I went to India one summer, and I think this was about the age of 13. And I came back, and you guys are like, yeah, we do YouTube now. And I'm like, what do you mean? So you guys show me your first film you made. It was like the nerds versus jocks sequel. Oh my God, those were good times.
It was, and it was interesting because that's what we connected on. We were very different from religious aspects or even from where we grew up. Mm-hmm. But it was really, I don't know, it was just crazy.
Yeah, no. I remember we would do all sorts of videos, and honestly, we were talking about this earlier. If we had stuck with it, maybe we could have been making really crazy, popular videos if we had stuck with it for the last 10 years,
I think so. I think that it might have gone viral. Yeah. We talked about that earlier, just about how it scared me sometimes because these videos were cringy. They were silly. They were so
cringy.
And some of us had not hit puberty yet. So I was terrified that we'd become a running meme.
I honestly, if people find this, they will make it a meme. So
right.
Let's just avoid telling the what the channel was.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that part.
Yeah. That's gonna be our worst nightmare. Waking up one day, seeing 100 texts by people and yo, your video blew up, has 100 million views. It's
that's not how I want to get famous at all.
Yeah. You were telling me a little bit about the religious differences that we all had, which is kind of interesting. Yeah.
It was very fascinating because, I don't know, it was early 2000s. I think we still are dealing with a lot of problems with how people are treating each other today. But being so young and being a white person, I remember just not being sure how to handle it. Mm-hmm. And I was and I think that was problematic. But it was something that really did change me because I went down here and a lot of these boys had been born in India, like you had told me earlier, or, their family was directly from that. Mm-hmm. And so being someone from the South who was very raised in a Baptist kind of church, I had a lot of toxic ways of thinking. Mm-hmm. And just the differences, we were young and children and innocent, but it was still affecting us. Vishal, one of our friends, he was Hindu. And when I learned about what that meant in my young mind, I thought it was really weird. I thought it meant they worship the sun, or I just didn't know in the depth of what it really meant. But when I first learned about these religions, I went to Vishal and I just told him, I was those people who pray to the sun or the moon, that's so dumb. And he looked at me and he was like, well, that's my religion. And I remember my 10-year-old self, just the pure panic because I was I have offended this man. Yeah. And in my mind, I ran home. I ran all the way home. I didn't deal with the conflict. I just never talked about it again. And I don't think that's very mature, but that's what was so cool about us. We were very different. We were still all friends and we were able to get along still pretty well.
No, I think the best part is, you were exposed so early on, because it's not anything bad. It's just natural. You're raised in one mindset, and now you've been exposed to a different mindset you never even considered or even imagined or anything. So to be exposed that early, that just gave you more opportunity to be open-minded over time, which was really cool.
I think so. I think that it really molded me my mom and parents would make comments on it. They'd be like, those children are so well behaved.
Mm-hmm.
And they would all they it was fascinating just how much it influenced me. And I was homeschooled, so I think a lot of y'all didn't realize that that was my social outlook. Those that was how I was learning about the world.
Right.
And so it did influence me in a lot of good ways that helped me. And we got to do these amazing things like make short films together, which propelled me to realize that was what I was really passionate about and wanted to pursue in my future.
So, that timeline, right? So we did a little bit of filming, we did some cartoons, we really like experimented a lot with content and stuff back in our younger years. But was it progressive, or was there like a pause in the timeline for you to go back to your passion for like film and stuff? Were you always doing a little bit here and there, or was it like later in time you were like, oh wait, I really like this?
I was always really passionate about it, but I didn't know why I was creating it. So later on, I think I did create content that I wasn't proud of. I think I was just trying to find laughs. Looking back, I realized some of my content could even be offensive or hurtful because I didn't know what I was setting my intentions on. I didn't know that creating art in any form should be something that brings good into the world. It should be bringing lessons. It should be bringing healing. So there was a few years, especially later on in my high school years, when I was still pursuing all these arts, but it was really chaotic and just kind of, I had no idea why I was doing it. And I didn't know what the point of it was. So I kind of got lost in that in my high school years, and I did get burnt out really badly. So
no, it's such a weird time, being your 20s. It's everyone always says it's like you don't really know what you're doing. You don't know your path. You could dot your cross your T's, dot your I's. You could have everything planned out, and one right turn in your whole life, and everything's changed. So I think that's just very interesting. It's kind of nice to see this full circle come back into your passions to do this and pursue more. You were telling me a little bit that you did, some filming, some short films. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh yeah, I have been involved in making my own films for a long time, and I pursued theater at the University of Arkansas. I'm almost done with my degree. I'm a senior. But during my time there, I worked on a few short films at a school called John Brown University. And it was a really cool experience because I got to work with a lot of professional equipment. And it was really good for my portfolio. But film is hard, especially in the South, in a small place like Fayetteville. It's hard to find connections where you can get work. So I've had to learn that sometimes the best work that you can put into the world is through working with your friends and making art that you're passionate about.
So what's your passion at the moment?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think
put you on the spot.
Yeah, I think that I think creating anything that brings good into the world or teaches lessons, that's what I've been focusing on a lot. I had the great experience this summer to work with Portland Stage with a director named Kevin R. Free and a writer, Scott Sickle, and a lot of a fantastic cast. And it just taught me so much about connections, about how we need those people to support us or we won't be anything. Even if you are really terrified in where your career's going, and you might be afraid that you won't be famous or you won't have enough money. If you are putting good work into your art, then that's what's enough.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to focus on that a lot lately. That's really been my passion and desire, just to create art that heals people and art that can affect at least one person,
I think I personally like either comedy or something that teaches you something. My reasons for that is, either I like to learn constantly, or when you're trying to unwind or you're trying to, distract yourself, kind of unwind from life, you kind of like comedy because it's almost like a stress relieving. It's funny, so I kind of gravitate towards those two type of things. I'm really into life lessons, and I guess on that note, what advice would you give for someone starting out or don't really know their way yet? I know, it's not like we're any big hot shots by no means, but you've definitely come further along than someone who's just now starting. So, what advice would you give somebody?
I think that's where I go back to just talking about connections and who you know.
Hmm.
I think it's just about making friendships with people who are interested in the same things as you.
Hmm.
And through those relationships and friendships, you'll build each other up. And the more people that know you, the more your work will be seen.
Yeah.
So sometimes people think they need that one big break,
Hmm.
but that might get you TikTok famous for a few weeks, but it won't bring change into the world and it won't give you a steady job.
Hmm.
So, I mean, college can be a great way, but to be honest, it's not affordable.
Yeah.
And some people can't do it.
Hmm.
And I honestly wouldn't have done it if I could go back in time.
Hmm.
But
Why is that?
because it was too much money, and
You don't think you learned enough?
I didn't learn enough.
Hmm.
The connections I got were from outside sources. The faculty helped me get those, but if you want to be an artist, just start creating. That's scary, and that's part of the gig of being an artist.
Oh
Is
yeah.
you don't know when the next check will come in, but you're doing what you love, and that's what's really important.
Hmm. You mentioned the whole Portland stage thing. You want to go into a little bit about that?
Yeah, I got to work there this summer
Hmm.
on a show called Mariana's Trench.
What is that?
It's a new show that Scott Sickle wrote, and it's about this. I hope I don't slaughter what it's about because I was in it.
Yeah.
But it's about this young boy that I played, and he's originally from Russia. And
Oh, you're the main role?
I was one of the roles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I had this amazing co-star, and both of our characters were these young boys who were pen pals in this dystopian world of America. But they weren't supposed to be messaging each other, and they were in love with each other. So it was a story about division, about people being divided. It was a story about love and about best friends. So it was something that we really needed in this world, I think. I had a lot of friends and family watch it. And like my grandma even messaged me afterwards. She's so conservative and it impacted her. And so that was enough. When I heard her talk about how it impacted her, I was like, okay, I'm glad that I did this project because it's putting positive change into the world. And that's all I want to do. And
That's awesome.
I got to work with just incredible actors from the Blacklist TV show to Wolf on Wall Street, The Irishman. And I was very intimidated, but I learned that they're just people. They have the same insecurities as you, and it's not as scary as you think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad you actually got to have that life lesson, which is even like the best part is, right, you were doing this project to make change, and along with it you also kept developing and learning, which is like a 2-for-1, right? Like what more could you ask for? But I'm glad you got that life lesson, right? Because you got to understand that they're just people. You don't need to idolize them anymore. They started just like you, at least most of them did. They weren't famous, so, and everybody starts somewhere, and I think that's like the hardest part is learning, is by seeing people's success and not thinking like, oh, I can't do that, and like switching your mindset to how can I do that? How can I? This person is a huge actor. Some people would be like, oh, I can't do that. Like, how the hell would you do that? Or he just got lucky, or and switching your mindset to how did he do that? Let me dive into who that person is, his story, her story, and really see their path. But I guess I should also note, nobody's path is the same. So just because, you read someone's path doesn't mean yours will work out that way. But it is a nice way to see, to me, it's inspirational to see these people that are big or idolized, see them be normal people and how they ended up where they are because of the hard work they put in.
Yeah. I think it was really encouraging. And I didn't go in with the right mindset at all. I was fanboying over these people.
Yeah.
And it was very humbling because at the end of the day, we were there for the same job, the same purpose. And we're just trying to create more positivity in the world.
You said Wolf of Wall Street and Irishman. Did you develop those connections? Did you get
A
a chance to?
little bit. Um, Amir from the Blacklist, and his last name escapes me.
What did he do? Is he like a film writer or something?
He's one of the main actors, or he like he came in season 2 of the Blacklist. I have not watched it a lot. I felt like that was too intimidating. I was like, I don't want to see my my co-star.
Yeah.
But I worked with him a lot. He played my uncle in the show, and he was just fast on his cues. He was fast in the way he thought.
That's awesome.
It was intimidating because he was so professional and he took his work very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it made me feel like I wasn't prepared enough or just wasn't professional enough. But our director, Kevin R. Free, really he gave me one private rehearsal and he asked me, he was like, Zach, are you okay? And I was like, no, like I'm working with all these famous actors. I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's going to be okay. He was so encouraging, and he made sure to like take the time to work with me and not just push me to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't professional. I shouldn't have been in that play, but he gave me that opportunity, and that was something that I think will and did improve my life.
Mm-hmm. How did you get that opportunity again? You from faculty?
Well, a few years ago, I was in a show that Kevin R. Free came to the University of Arkansas to guest direct.
Okay.
And I just played the ensemble, but I would pester Kevin a lot. I'd be like, because he was a famous director from New York. In my eyes, I was like, this is the best opportunity I could ever get. Mm-hmm. I'd make him like critique my monologues when he had time. Mm-hmm. And we just started to build this friendship. So this summer, I recently got cast in a Shakespeare play, and I told him about it. I thought he was calling me to congratulate me, and he was calling me because he was going to direct this play, and he was like, you have to audition right away. But he was like, you can't tell any of your friends. And it felt so intense. It felt so scary. But at the same time, I was just so honored that he had thought of me for the role and reached out to me. So
that's awesome. I think that's a big thing that people can take away from that story. Literally, you shot your shot, like the best way to put it, right? You went out there. It was probably terrifying too. I bet the first interaction, you probably had thoughts racing through your head, and you're like, oh, what is he going to say? Is he going to be okay with it? Like, is he chill? You don't really know because you haven't had your interactions, and you took your shot, and, over time developed this awesome friendship that helped you out, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's about too. It's about meeting those people. You want to surround yourself with positive people. Like Kevin R. Free, he did those things for me because he sees great in people. And he wants to just put them on the stage because he believes in them. So, I mean, it was encouraging to me.
That's awesome. Because I really feel like, with film and stuff and plays, the barrier to entry can be kind of high sometimes. So it's really nice that he takes chances with people,
I agree. It was really what I needed in that moment.
So, we talked a little bit about, religion, right? Your childhood experiences, which was interesting,
It very much was. And I think it has made me pursue what I believe because I was surrounded by so many different religions from our friend group that it made me realize, it's not just Arkansas. It's not just these people I'm surrounded with. Like, there's so much more to the world. And I've been pursuing that for a long time, and I still don't know what I believe, but it's the idea that I want to learn more, and I want to learn more about myself through it. But I've been applying it to my work and my art, and I don't think I'm a professional with what I know about this information, but I've just been learning more about what people used to believe and how they took spirituality and they used it in acting, and how Native Americans really, it's so sad that we don't practice it as much anymore because of the way that like theater has been westernized. But it's this idea that stories are supposed to heal us, that stories are about our ancestors, about our family, but they're here to teach us lessons. And if you don't know why you're on stage, if you don't know why you're telling this story, or if you're on a film, like, then you aren't going to have the ability to heal the audience with your words. They're just going to be words.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just been researching all about how we can connect the two and how these stories that we create could create change in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But we really have to start educating ourselves and just talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
I think so much of the time we're afraid of being wrong, or that our
Mhm.
words will be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and they probably will. But the most important thing is just to start communicating
Mm-hmm.
and start being like, here's what I think. So that's what I've just been really researching a lot about spirituality. And I've been trying to add it into my personal life and my personal things I'm really excited about, like acting and theater.
You like to give a message. So do you incorporate these messages into your film? Like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, what kind of like values and stuff are you talking about?
Well,
Which values are you very passionate about? Put you on the spot again.
I know. But which values I'm passionate about in what reference? Are you saying in?
Well, you said earlier, right? Your story about your grandma. It was like eye-opening to her,
Yeah.
and that message is a very important one, I guess. You know, society still has some backlash here and there, and even when we were talking about, you know, Walmart and, you know, Vishal's parents coming here because of Walmart, and a lot of people actually. So, you know how like Arkansas was very conservative and mostly white. So, and then Walmart, you know, dumped a lot of ethnic culture into the mix, and there was a lot of backlash. So, you know, there's a lot of social values and stuff you can talk about, and you said you like to incorporate some sort of healing or message into your films. And what in particular would you find interesting to do for your short films, or something you want to do next?
That's a really good question.
Mhm.
Especially as a white artist.
Mm-hmm.
I've been writing a lot more, but I'm trying to keep that to my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
but educate people through it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to write different like characters that I have not isn't my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So through my writing, I've been trying to teach the aspects that I've seen. I've seen a lot of white culture. I've seen a lot of Christian culture here,
Mm-hmm.
and those are things that are really toxic. They can be.
Mm-hmm.
And so through my work, I've been trying to, not in an aggressive way, but in a very real way, show through like psychology, through spirituality, how our words can hurt people,
Mm-hmm.
and how sometimes kids and grown-ups and white people especially don't realize that their words have so much power.
Mm-hmm.
So through my stories, I'm trying to bring awareness to how we don't treat each other with the most respect,
Mm-hmm.
and how sometimes, because we aren't willing to communicate honestly, it gets so muddled
Mm-hmm.
that we don't communicate at all.
Was there anything in particular that kind of opened your eyes to want to pursue this kind of message?
I think it was a lot of my Native friends
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mostly childhood buildup.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of, like y'all,
Mhm.
whenever I met everyone, all those neighbors, it was such a different culture that I wasn't aware of, even
Mhm.
though y'all are from Arkansas. So we have this kind of Arkansas vibe.
Yeah.
It was still very different. And then when I was older, I did become friends with a lot of Native people. I think it was that it's who you surround yourself are the kind of ideas that you're going to start building off of.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was really thankful
Mm-hmm.
that Walmart was pushing for more diversity,
Mm-hmm.
or else I wouldn't have had y'all as friends when I was younger. And I think that if I hadn't have had that in my life, to be honest, like I would be a completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was just having community, and it didn't matter what we looked like. It didn't matter that I was just the Southern boy. It was something deeper,
Mm-hmm.
that we were just kids and we wanted to throw the football around or play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really, it gave me a sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've been pursuing ever since. It's just to keep that community going.
That was really deep. No, I love that. I really love that. And that sense of innocence, right, with childhood, and there's no social stigma attached to it. We're all just trying to have fun and be like friends, which is just very heartwarmingly innocent, I'd say, which is good. You know, I like the values that you're trying to push, and I really like the message idea, and that's the kind of content I really look forward to. And definitely let me know when you post more short films or
Yeah,
direct
dude.
something or act. Let me know, please do. I really enjoyed some of the stuff I watched on your YouTube. Right, you have a YouTube channel.
I do.
Can I put that on here?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's from my old one. I think it's Film Guy.
Okay.
15 or 14. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll put that in the podcast.
Okay, perfect. I mean, I really appreciate you taking this time to talk to me
Yeah,
too.
of
I
course.
was so excited. I was like,
me too.
my
Yeah.
old childhood friend coming back.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been so long.
You said you, I guess, lastly, you want to talk about a little bit about Native American culture in the film industry.
Yeah.
I actually don't know much about that. You want to elaborate?
I mean, not just film, but in theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that I know a lot, so I don't want to go into depth because I think I could be giving the wrong kind of information because it's something that I'm still just discovering and learning. And I'm definitely not native, so I don't want to talk for people that are.
Mm-hmm.
But through what I've learned, it is something that we lack in our industry right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea that the land and the people can bring healing to each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that our stories have to incorporate that. And they aren't right now. So many of our stories that we see, they don't represent the right people,
Mm-hmm.
or they just tell stories that aren't pushing for social change. So what I've seen through researching and watching in the Native community is that through their spirituality and what has been taken from them,
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot of insight that we could pull from. And I don't even think that we deserve that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it makes me so sad because we're almost past that. So I do want to find a way to have safe places for Native people
Mm-hmm.
where white people aren't a part of that,
Mm-hmm.
where they can start creating their art again and using their spirituality through that, because it's not something we see a lot. There are a few amazing companies that are really Native run
Mm-hmm.
and have a lot of actors who are only Native, but it's something that we don't see very much of because this industry is so white run.
Mm-hmm. Hollywood, especially, man. We're just now seeing Asian actors, entering the film industry, and I think for a while we didn't even see black actors, and it's not even close to being, remotely completely diverse. But I know we're starting to see more black actors, but I think Asian actors, especially in Hollywood, are still having a rough patch, at least from what I can see. You don't think their culture dissipated enough for it to recover in the film industry?
No, I think it can recover,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it needs support
Yeah.
from non-Native people,
Mm-hmm.
especially white people that aren't Native. It's like they need to be supporting. They need to take a step back,
Mm-hmm.
create these spaces for them, because that's where a lot of the money is in these white people. And they just, the thing that I find most offensive is we're not telling stories, right? You'll see it with, like you're talking about, there's not enough representation of these different people.
Mm-hmm.
And it just disgusts me because it's not telling stories how they're supposed to be told.
Mm-hmm.
We see a lot of people of color who are mixed, but they'll cast them as someone who's supposed to be all black.
Mm-hmm.
And I never am frustrated with the actors because I know they need those roles.
Mm-hmm.
But then I look at the directors and I'm like, oh, like let's look at the producers, directors. They're usually a lot of times white.
Mm-hmm.
And they're telling the story and they're not even putting people in that fit right.
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll do it with disability
Mm-hmm.
or mental health. And at this point, like, people deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
They deserve to hear stories that are true
Mm-hmm.
and that they can look at and go, oh, I relate to that because they're telling a real story. So that's what I get so mad about, and that's what I want to push forward,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone deserves the truth, and everyone deserves a story that tells that.
Mm-hmm.
We are pushing towards, like, I'm seeing a lot in the film industry change.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a long ways to go,
Mhm.
but people are waking up slowly.
Well, Zach, I appreciate being on here and taking the time to share your stories. I really appreciate you being here.
Of course, I love talking.
Yeah, for sure. I'll put his YouTube handle in the podcast description. And thanks for listening, guys.